How's it going, everyone? My name is Nico, but I go by COINTrick and COINTricktwitch online. Many of you probably know me as the voice of Alden P. Snides on the Dark Dominion, a D&D campaign being live streamed over on twitch.tv/5%chance. Our D&D campaign is fortunate enough to be sponsored by 2C Gaming, and because of that, they sent the cast some source books. Some epic source books. Not one, not two, but three. And you'll notice they're all called Epic Legacy something or other. And that is exactly what these are. There's a little bit of something in here for every kind of player, but I'll get to the really big thing here in a minute. Whether you're starting at level 1 or whether you're starting at level 20, there's something in here for everybody. You get epic feats, you get epic rituals, epic magic and epic magic items, epic adventures. Really, what these source books allow you to do is they allow you to craft a campaign that goes beyond level 20. It goes beyond what the limits of conventional 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons currently is. There are also some options in here if you're not level 20 yet. You have epic player races, which basically grant you extra bonuses or they change some of the ways that your racial features work in the game. I'll show you guys that in just a minute. The strength of this, in my opinion, is that most of us who have played Dungeons & Dragons have never reached level 20. And those of us who have played at level 20 most likely haven't done it for a very long time. So this allows many players to do two things. It allows DMs to do two things as well. Chiefly, if you've never reached level 20, never played at level 20, but if you're a little bit familiar with the game, I would recommend that you could use these to create a level 20 character and then begin a level 20 campaign and have just an epic campaign. Start at level 20. Start where your hero is already incredibly powerful and tell the story of how they reach godhood and why. The second thing that these source books do is they are a great tool for DMs to think of plot hooks, different kinds of creatures and different kinds of challenges that will really challenge high-level players, not just epic players, but also players from, levels 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So we have the core rulebook, which has what most people would refer to as prestige classes. Basically, it's what your regular class turns into if you go above level 20. Sorcerers become archons, druids become primordials, monks become enlightened fists, and warlocks become overlords. Next, we have the campaign codex, which has a few more character options. There's a little bit more in here for if you haven't reached level 20 just yet, but you want your character to feel a little bit more powerful. There are epic feats in here that you can use for that specifically. Obviously, clear it with your DM first. And then last but not least, we have the Tome of Titans Volume 1, and if you're a DM, you're really gonna need this. There are a few player options in here that you guys might wanna check out, but this shows you what kind of monsters you need in your arsenal to challenge a player who is above level 20. Asmodeus has a stat block in here. All of that is well and good, but what does an adventure look like when you're above level 30? What do your skill checks look like? Your bonuses would be immense. One of the first things that you notice when you open up this book and you're looking at your player character options is that your maximum stat for everything, instead of being 20, becomes 30. And that means that your stat bonus for those rolls could be as high as a +10, unless you're an epic human, and we'll talk about that in a minute. There are a lot of really cool things in these books, but I'm not gonna show you guys everything that we have in all of these, because we don't have enough time, and I really encourage you guys to check these out for yourselves. So what does a skill check above level 20 look like? Well, luckily there's a table in here that tells DMs and tells players what an epic level skill check would look like. If you look at charisma, for example, if you could roll a 45, that's the DC for convincing a small town that you are the king or the heir apparent by birthright. Now, what is a character capable of who could achieve a feat like that in-game? Let's figure it out. So I could do this for Alden, the character that I'm currently playing in the Dark Dominion campaign, but I don't want to do that for two big reasons. One, Alden may not take monk levels all the way up to level 20, and that's one of the kind of things that they haven't accounted for so much in these books. There's a section on multiclassing, but it doesn't really help in this tiered sort of gameplay where you have non-epic, which is everything that you're used to below level 20. You have epic gameplay, which is what you have in these source books, so you can have things like epic spells and epic advantage, epic disadvantage, and those are different from the spells advantage and disadvantage and all of these ability checks and things that we're used to in the base game. This game also has a deific system of magic, and that is one rank above what would be epic. Basically, when you get to the end of the game and you're a level 30, most things cannot harm you unless they are godlike. But in order to multi-class and get those epic features, you have to be level 20 in one class. There's a little bit more in there about how you can handle multi-classing, but I don't want to give away too much about where Alden is going, and I don't want to make a level 30 monk and have anybody think that, you know, that's the vision that I want for Alden and that's where he's going. So instead, we're gonna do Alden's son, Dalen Snides. Luckily, I already used D&D Beyond to level up Dalen all the way up to level 20 as a warlock. He's using Pact of the Tome as his pact boon, and his patron is the Undying. Shh, secrets. As a level 20 monk, Dalen has access to a whole slew of different kinds of abilities, even more because he's using Pact of the Tome. To craft a small story for you guys, and this may not be canonical to the Dark Dominion, Dalen escapes his port isle. He goes on a small adventure to try and find his dad. He loses his way, he ends up needing to make a bargain in order to save his own life. To that end, Dalen pledges his allegiance to an undying being that promises him that he will never die. Eventually, Dalen reaches level 20 as a warlock and realizes he wants more power. So what does he do? He renegotiates with his patron. So he uses his heightened charisma to renegotiate with his patron in exchange for more power when he needs it. And that's how you become an overlord. Flip open the core rulebook, and you find the page titled Overlord, Epic Warlock. First of all, I really like the art here, and this is honestly what made me think of Dalen, because that's kind of like what Alden looks like. One thing that's really cool here is the distinction that, like, once you go over level 20, you're no longer a warlock. You're no longer necessarily beholden to your patron. After level 20, you begin to call on more power with less permission. You guys will see what that means here in just a second. So, he renegotiates with his patron, he reaches level 21. What do you get at level 21? You get an ability score improvement, which could be a regular feat. You also get an epic feat, or you can improve one of your stats by 4, or 2 stats by 2, which is huge. And you get your epic pact boon based on whatever your pact boon was as your original warlock class. So that's Pact of the Blade, Pact of the Tome, and Pact of the Chain. Unfortunately, there's not an option in these source books for Pact of the Talisman, not yet. So, at level 21, since his whole thing is that he doesn't want to die and he wants to avoid death at any cost, at level 21, we're going to pick up the feat Tough instead of improving any of our skills. That's going to give us an extra +2 for every level that we have and that we're going to have. For our epic feat, we are going to pick up the Epic Human Racial Feat, and you're going to find that in the Campaign Codex under Epic Races. There are epic versions of a lot of the races that you guys are familiar with. There are epic shifters, epic warforged, and some of these also have epic sub-races, like different models of warforged and different subspecies of epic elves that get a lot of other advantages. Now, it's worth mentioning, these are epic racial feats, so technically they function the same as epic feats, which you accumulate at a different rate from regular feats. Regular feats you can take anytime that you're getting your regular ability score increase. Epic feats, you have to be eligible for an epic feat to get, and they don't happen as often. Most of these classes only get to collect 3 epic feats, so you have to choose them very wisely. Our first epic feat is that we will be changing from being a regular human to being an epic human variant. On page 131 on the Campaign Codex, you'll start finding the epic races, but if you flip over to page 136, you'll find the epic racial feat, Epic Human. The text says, "Is there anything you can't do? Whatever challenge gets put in front of you, you will overcome them. It's just a matter of time, skill, and effort, and you've got all 3. Your racial traits are replaced or altered to include the following benefits. Epic Legacy. When future humans in your campaign setting, including characters, take up the adventuring lifestyle in your name, they gain a +1 bonus to any ability score of your choice, chosen when you take this epic racial feat. A human cannot benefit from this feature more than once." Pushing the limits. An ability score of your choice increases by 4, and your ability score maximum for that score increases to 34. There's a lot more really cool stuff in this book, like a legendary rogue subclass that lets you throw cards like Gambit from the X-Men, but I'll cover that in another video if you guys want me to. Let me know in the comments. So that's our epic feat, and our epic boon, because we are a Pact of the Tome Warlock, is this. You gain additional Warlock spell slots, and the level of your Warlock spell slots increase as you advance as an Overlord. You have a number of Warlock spell slots, and all of your slots are the same level according to the following table. Additionally, you may cast a Mystic Arcanum spell you know by expending a Warlock spell slot instead of the use of that spell's Arcanum, as long as the Warlock spell slot is the same level or higher than the Arcanum spell. And this goes all the way up to level 30, where you have 7 8th level spell slots. That means all of your spells are cast at 8th level, and you have 7 of them that you can do that, and you get all of those back after a short rest. Then at level 22, we're gonna get Coercion, and we get access to our first Epic Eldritch Invocation, or just Epic Invocation for short. Coercion. At 22nd level, you can pull significant power from your patron to learn profane secrets of extraordinary strength called Epic Invocations. You gain 1 Epic Invocation of your choice, and your invocation options are detailed at the end of the Overlord class section. When you gain certain Overlord levels, you gain additional Epic Invocations of your choice, as shown in the Epic Invocations known column on the Overlord class progression table. Additionally, when you gain a level in this Epic Prestige class, you can choose one of the Epic Invocations you know and replace it with another Epic Invocation that you could learn at that level. That's really complicated. I'm gonna show you guys what this looks like if you don't play a shell game with your Epic Invocations, okay? But maybe I'll talk about it in a future video if you want. There are a lot of these Epic Invocations. There are a lot of just Eldritch Invocations in the game in general. I'm not gonna read all of these to you. Again, I encourage you all to check these books out on your own. But at 22nd level, we are gonna pick up Blood of the Outsider. Your hit point maximum increases by an amount equal to thrice your character level when you gain this Epic Invocation. Whenever you gain a level thereafter, your hit point maximum increases by an additional 3 points. So you remember when we picked up Tough at level 1 so that we got another +2 for every level we had. Now we're getting another +3, so we're actually getting +5 plus whatever our Constitution bonus is. At level 23, we're gonna pick up Warcaster as a feat, so that we can cast spells as a reaction when we're making an opportunity attack. It'll also give us advantage on any spells that we're trying to concentrate on. At level 24, we get an epic class feature called Obligatory Patronage. And this is really where it starts to feel like your warlock is becoming more and more powerful than their patron. At level 24, you can draw some of your most powerful magic from your patron more frequently. You regain the uses of your Mystic Arcanum whenever you finish a short or long rest. Basically, that means for warlocks, whenever you take a short rest, you are good to go. At level 24, we also get our second Epic Invocation. And in this case, we're actually gonna go back and pick up a level 22 invocation called Codex of Nightmare that's gonna make our Pact of the Tome a lot more powerful. You gain a single tier 1 epic spell slot and can learn 2 epic spells from the Overlord epic spell list, which can be found in chapter 4, along with the general rules for casting epic spells. You regain expended Overlord epic spell slots when you finish a long rest. So that's gonna be one of the only like high risk, high reward kinds of things. But I don't think Dalen is gonna find himself in a situation where he can't rest. And then at 25th level, you get another ability score improvement or regular feat, and you get another epic feat. All right, at 25th level, since we have that cap on our charisma right now at 34 from picking up the epic human racial feat, we're gonna dump anything that we can into charisma. And if you've already reached 34 in this build here, dump whatever else you can in Constitution. Get that extra health. The epic feat that we are gonna pick up at level 25 is Immortality. That's right, there's an actual thing that you can just, any character can pick up as an epic feat. You don't have to be level 25 to get this. I just wanted to get the racial feat first. But I'll tell you what Immortality does for your character. So the section on epic feats actually starts on page 80, but you're gonna wanna flip to page 83 to find the epic feat for Immortality. You transcend the limitations of life itself, granting you the following benefits. If you are reduced to 0 hit points, you may use your reaction to spend 1 or more of your hit dice to recover hit points as though you had instantly finished a short rest. Once you have used this feature, you cannot use it again until you finish a short or long rest. You no longer suffer from the effects of aging and cannot be magically aged by non-deific means. Your soul cannot be destroyed by any means. There's a lot to unpack there, but the big thing is that only a god can kill you, or something that is godlike can kill you. And secondly, if something does kill you, you can always be returned to life. And we're only halfway through, that's just level 25. Let's keep going. At level 26, you get another epic invocation, And you also get an epic feature based on what your original patron was. So for Alden, it's going to be the Undying, but they actually have a lot of different patrons from a lot of the original source books in here. For our epic invocation at level 26, we're going to be taking Agent of Chaos. Dalen likes to stir the pot. When a creature you can see within 120 feet of you targets a creature with a spell or attack, you may use your reaction to force that creature to select a different creature of your choice other than itself for that spell or attack. If the attacking creature is epic, it can attempt a wisdom saving throw against your spell save DC, preventing the effect on a success. If a creature has no other eligible targets, this effect fails. I feel like this is obviously meant to be used defensively, but I imagine Dalen actually doing this to steal a buff from another spellcaster. For our epic otherworldly patron, we went with the Undying from levels 1 to 20, and that's going to carry over all the way to level 30. When you finish a long rest, you can choose to gain a number of temporary hit points equal to your hit point maximum. These temporary hit points cannot be replaced by temporary hit points from a source other than this feature unless you will it. While you have at least one temporary hit point from this feature, you cannot be killed by non-deific means. You also gain access to a few more spells. You gain access to Freezing Sphere and Harm, which are 6th level, Resurrection and Sequester, which are 7th level, Clone, which is 8th level, and True Resurrection, which is 9th level. Alright, we're pretty powerful, but we're not powerful enough. Never enough. At 27th level, you get another ability score increase or a regular feat from the original game if you want. Now, in this build, if you're still trying to get up to that 34, I would recommend doing that, but that's also kind of like not super entertaining or fun for me. So I'm actually going to try and focus on some spellcasting feats, and we're going to pick up Spell Sniper here. At level 28, you get access to another epic invocation, and you also get an epic class feature called Oppressive Authority. For our epic invocation, we're going to be picking up something called Dark Prophecies. You can cast the spell Foresight at will. No spell slots, no components, no action, bonus action, nothing like that, just at will whenever. Oppressive Authority. At 28th level, your patron must accommodate your desires and needs as best it can, no matter how fickle. By spending 1 minute demanding assistance from your patron, you either learn 2 non-epic invocations of your choice, or 1 epic invocation of your choice. You must still meet the prerequisites for these invocations, which you know until you finish a long rest. Once you have used this feature, you must finish a long rest before you can use it again. So basically what that means is that if your character is not busy, you can spend another minute and just pick up another invocation if you want. Now this is cool because you can play this one situationally, and you can swap these invocations out relatively easily after any kind of long rest. Or any time that you level up and pick up a new invocation, you can kind of shuffle them around. That was mentioned earlier. I'm not going to do that because I'm trying to keep this simple, but when I reached level 28 and I got that other epic invocation, I would try and keep another one in the back of my mind. I think a fun one, if not necessarily super effective here, would be Otherworldly Flight, which just gives you a flying speed equal to your walking speed. Another option that you could have if you wanted to be a little bit more offensive is that you could take the Greater Codex of Nightmares, which would give you access to a lot more spells too. And then if you were just trying to keep yourself alive and you thought maybe you were going to take a lot of damage or be under very heavy attack, you could pick up Bulwark of Steel Shadows. Your AC becomes 10 plus your proficiency bonus plus your charisma modifier. And remember, in this instance, my charisma could go all the way up to 34, so my modifier could be plus 12. Or choose to pick up Bathed in Blood, which is going to be a little bit more situational. It's going to take a lot more strategy to use that efficiently. But this is a really cool text for this. When you take 25 damage or more in a single instance from an enemy creature, you can choose to manifest a single magical orb of your own blood. This blood orb moves with you and follows wherever you go. As a bonus action, you can expend 1 or more of these orbs to gain the benefits of a single effect, according to the number of orbs expended. You can have up to 3 orbs at a time, and any unexpended blood orbs fade into nothingness when you begin a short or long rest. Using 1 or more of your blood orbs grants the following benefits. If you use 1 orb, you regain 3d8 hit points. If you use 2 orbs, you regain 1 of your warlock spell slots, not 1 of your epic spell slots, regular spell slots. If you use 3 orbs, the next time you roll damage dice this turn, you roll 6 additional damage dice of the attack's damage type. It actually has an example here. When, I want to believe that's Johann Clay, strikes an orc with an Eldritch Blast and deals 1d10 force damage. If he expends his 3 blood orbs before damaging the orc, the force damage from the cantrip would increase to 7d10 on a successful hit. But wait, we're not done. At 29th level, you get another ability score increase or regular feat, and an epic feat. Let's assume at this point, hopefully your charisma's maxed out at 34 and you have a plus 12 modifier, which is crazy. Dalen's whole thing is that he wants to live for as long as possible. He never wants to be caught off guard, and he always wants to have the upper hand. So you're gonna take the alert feat, so you can never be surprised. And for your epic feat, you're gonna pick up what is one of my favorite, if not like it doesn't have a whole lot of utility, this might be my favorite epic feat in the book. You are gonna pick up Spell Lord. Your magic is so powerful as to overwhelm lesser creatures, and your spells strike with greater efficacy. You gain the following benefits. Your spell attacks score a critical hit on a roll of 18 to 20. When a creature with a challenge rating of 5 or lower succeeds on a saving throw against a spell cast by you, it instead fails. You also learn the cantrip Arcane Mark, which is just below this. Casting time is 1 bonus action, the range is touch or special, and it's in the description. There are verbal and somatic components, and the duration is permanent, which is huge for a cantrip. You inscribe a magical signature on an object or structure within reach. The inscription can take the form of a single symbol, word, or other design as long as it can occupy up to a 6-inch square on the surface of the structure or object. The mark cannot be removed by non-magical means and is unique to you. Attempts by creatures other than you to replicate the design of your inscription automatically fail. Once you have inscribed an object or structure with the spell, you cannot target it with this spell again, for as long as it remains inscribed. You can choose to cast the spell immediately after you cast a spell as an action. If you do, instead of inscribing a magical signature on an object or structure, you give that spell a personalized flair that identifies it as a spell cast by you. Creatures that observe the spell's casting or effects and have knowledge of your existence instantly recognize the spell as cast by you. That's just a really fun one to use, and being able to crit more often is not ever going to be harmful. Finally, at level 30, which is as high as you can go here, you get your last epic invocation, and you get something called Hostile Takeover. And also, at this point, your proficiency bonus is +8, which means your expertise, if you have it, is +16. So for our last epic invocation, we are taking Untouchable. When you take damage, you may use your reaction to instead take no damage, and magically transport yourself to an unoccupied space within 30 feet of your current location. Yeah, it's overpowered. I know it is, but you have to be level 30 to have that. And here's the thing, while that sounds like it's overpowered because it sounds like you could just decide to take no damage, if you're being hit with like ranged spells, if 2 of them hit, you can only avoid damage from 1 of them. It's not as if it makes you immune to damage for your entire turn, which is also why Dalen has an obscene amount of health. You also get the epic class feature, Hostile Takeover. At 30th level, you have the power to subjugate your patron entirely and completely exploit its power as you see fit, giving you total mastery over the power it has granted you. If a feature would require that you spend an amount of time greater than an action to gain assistance from your patron, such as your Eldritch Master Warlock class feature, you may instead gain the benefits from the feature as an action. Additionally, when you finish a long rest, you may choose any number of non-epic or epic invocations you know and replace them with an equal number of non-epic or epic invocations for which you meet the prerequisites. You cannot replace a non-epic invocation with an epic invocation using this feature. So what that means basically is that once you hit level 30, if you didn't like the invocations that you had as you built up and you wanted to take all of the highest level invocations, you could just do that after a rest. Whew! Okay, that's a lot. A lot of really big numbers. It reminds me kind of like Pathfinder and 3.5 and stuff like that. But what does all of that mean? Well, you remember that charisma check that I mentioned before, the epic charisma check to convince a small town that you are its king by birthright. That check is a 45, which means in the regular game, you would need a +25 on top of a natural 20 just to meet that DC. But what does that mean for Dalen? Dalen, at max level, has 34 charisma, which means his bonus is a +12. His proficiency bonus is also a +8, which doubles to a +16 if he has expertise. Since this is a persuasion check, and Dalen has expertise in persuasion from the levels he took when he was leveling up as a regular warlock from 1 to 20, he has a +16 and a +12, so he has a +28 on that check. Now he still needs to get close to a nat 20 to make that check without any other kind of like magical aid or anything like that. But it's possible, and that really helps put into context how powerful these characters are, but how simple it could be to still challenge them, which I think is what most people shy away from when you're getting close to level 20 and when you're thinking about going beyond level 20. Now, some of the other charisma checks on here, things that you need like 80, 90, 100 to reach, Dalen would have a very hard time reaching those, but Alden could do it at level 30. Thank you guys for tuning in, sticking around, showing up. I really appreciate it. If you haven't already, remember to like and subscribe, and check out our live stream over on twitch.tv/5% if you want to catch the Dark Dominion every other Saturday. Our next session is going to be June 18th at 7 p.m. EST. Hopefully I see you guys there. Until then, be good, be kind, be helpful, and I'll see you all next time.